Hey guys, so with patch 0.4 coming right around the corner, I know a lot of you guys are probably trying to figure out what character, what class, what build you should do as a league starter. Now, in Path of Exile, league starts are fairly important. Of course, some people don't really care too much about the performance and just play whatever's fun, but now a lot of you guys are probably trying to get to endgame early because getting to endgame early means that you're going to be able to get more money quickly, and getting money early means that you're going to be setting up the rest of your league for success. So today, I want to give you guys what, in my opinion, are going to be the 5 most smooth league start characters as possible. Now, this is not going to be including Druid at all because it pretty much is the Wild West out there. So if you want to play Druid as a league start, well, that's up to you, and your results may vary. But the lucky part is that there are a lot of content creators out there playing Druid as their league start, so I'm sure you can follow one of their guides and make it to endgame fairly easily and, make mistakes along the way, but that's part of the fun, right? But for those of you guys who don't want to make mistakes along the way, here are my top 5 builds for making it to endgame as quickly and as smoothly as possible. The first build I'm going to be suggesting, and probably my top pick for this league for league starters, is going to be my Poison Spiral Volley Pathfinder. Now, Pathfinder got some major buffs this patch, and is likely going to be one of the strongest ascendancies in the game for the entirety of the 0.4 update. Now, on top of these changes, they also got a buff to Spiral Volley. So the ability itself that we were using last league also got stronger, which means that this is going to be a very strong league starter. It is going to have some very, very strong clear with Spiral Volley, with the ability to clear the entire screen with a one-button playstyle. On top of that, it's going to have pretty good single target as well, with Toxic Growth and Gas Arrow being a very, very strong combo. It's just going to be an all-rounder build that is going to be able to carry you through any piece of content in the game. On top of that, I know what you guys are thinking. You're probably like, okay, well, Flubgun is also going to be playing a Poison Pathfinder. Am I going to have to pay the Flubgun tax by playing this character? And luckily, the answer is going to be no, because the character that Flubgun is playing is going to likely use very different equipment from what we're using. Flubgun's character is going to be using more of an elemental playstyle, whereas our Spiral Volley Pathfinder is going to be playing more of a physical playstyle. And additional arrows don't matter for this character at all. All that matters is that you have as much physical damage as possible. Then your tree and your skills themselves are going to turn that physical into poison, dealing a massive amount of damage. So rest assured, you are not going to have to pay the Flubgun tax. The only area that you might have to pay a little bit is going to be the jewels, but then again, it's not going to be that bad. So this is why I highly recommend the Poison Spiral Volley character. As for the build guide, I'm going to recommend, of course, the one that I made last league and will be updating for this league before the league start. I'm going to be going through all of the leveling process, what you should be using for your equipment, your skills, what your skill tree should be looking like, etc., just to guide you all the way through from the beginning all the way to the end game. So check out that build guide in the link below. The second build on this list is going to be, you guys probably guessed it, Essence Drain Contagion Lich. This has been an extremely solid league starter for 0.2, was one of the best, if not the best league starters for 0.3, and pretty much has been untouched in 0.4. So it'll continue being a very, very strong option for a league start character in patch 0.4, Last of the Druids. What makes this build so strong is just its ability to play comfortably and clear all the content in the game easily. Now, the best areas, the areas where it excels, is definitely going to be AoE clear. So it's going to be able to clear maps and clear through mobs of enemies very easily, very quickly, with very low investment. On top of that, it is a damage over time build, meaning that once you put down a damage over time on an enemy, you don't actually need to continue attacking it. All you need to do is focus on dodging its attacks, which, especially in the campaign in Path of Exile 2, means that you're going to be having a much easier time fighting bosses. So this is going to be an extremely solid character to start off with for both AoE clear and for single target. Of course, as you get further into the end game, the single target does start to fall off a little bit, but in 0.3 they did bring quite a few buffs to it, so its single target was not as lacking as it was in the past. As a result, in 0.4 again, it continues to stay very solid. Now, the build guide I would recommend is going to be Dead Rabbit's Essence Drain Contagion guide. He's a good buddy of mine. I know that he makes very, very good guides, and as a result, I put full trust in his guide for this league as well. So if you want to look for a very solid league starter for a caster that is using chaos damage, has very good AoE clear, also relatively decent single target, I would highly recommend you check out Essence Drain Contagion Lich. The third build variant that I would recommend is definitely going to be grenades. Now, I'm not going to specify a specific grenade archetype, let's just say, I don't know, Deadeye or Pathfinder or whatever, because I think that grenades are just extremely strong and potentially overpowered. In 0.3, everybody talked about grenades and how strong they were. They basically carried you through the entire campaign, being an extremely strong option. People were telling me that the grenades made the campaign completely trivial, and a lot of times they never saw mechanics from the super hard bosses that people were struggling with just because of the sheer amount of damage and AoE that it was doing. And in patch 0.4, they pretty much did not nerf grenades at all. So it continues to be a very strong league starter for that reason. Very self-sustaining, very strong, clears quickly, clears bosses well as well. Again, another all-rounder build for patch 0.4. The one thing that did get touched for grenades was the Constricting Command Viper helmet. Now, this was more of an endgame situation, so not really much of an early game campaign. Early game campaign, it's still going to be extremely, extremely smooth. But where it does get affected a little bit is going to be when the end game, when you transition into the Viper Cap variant. Now, I know a lot of people who are probably going to be playing this are going to take out the Constricting Command completely out of the equation for their build, but the build guide that I would recommend is going to be Loghal's Doomslayer Deadeye, and that build is still going to be using the Constricting Command Viper Cap. How it's going to work is that the character is probably just going to be playing a lot more close quarters compared to some of the other variants that might not be using the Constricting Command. And of course, you can also just not use Constricting Command yourself and play grenades normally. I believe that grenades are strong enough to where you don't even need the Viper Cap to do well with it and just be able to play with it without that helmet. Now, the one thing you will have to deal with without the Viper Cap is going to be mana cost. During the campaign, it's still fine, but as you approach further and further into the late game, as you're scaling your gem level more and more, mana is going to be an issue. There are ways to solve it, but again, the easiest way is going to probably be playing with a Viper Cap, just altering your playstyle a little bit more into a more close quarters playstyle. Again, I'm going to be linking you guys Loghal's guide in the description below if you are looking to play grenades. Again, a very solid start, very good clear, very good AoE, and it's also grenades, the archetype that won one of the big races last league as well, beating out Angormus, who is the king of racing in Path of Exile 2. So I would highly recommend playing grenades as a league starter. The fourth build on this list that I would recommend has to be Boneshatter Warrior. Now, I know a lot of people have swapped over to the Shield Wall variant, which you can definitely use and also use to supplement your single target damage, but I feel like Leap Slam, Boneshatter, and also Boneshatter into the endgame has been a very solid option all the way leading back to 0.1 to right now. It has been strong every single league and has not let anybody down. So I would recommend anybody who is looking to play Warrior just to play this build because it's just got good AoE, it's got relatively good single target, it also is very tanky, and I'll recommend Carnarius as the build guide creator for this. I don't really have too much to comment on this because it pretty much has stayed the same for the past couple leagues, and anybody who is looking to play this probably already knows what Boneshatter Warrior is all about. You jump in, prime enemies for stun, Boneshatter, and it pretty much clears the entire screen, or at least all the enemies on the screen nearby you. So yeah, continues to be a good build. Recommend Carnarius' build. He's probably been playing some variant of it going into the next patch, and I know that he's going to have a guide up for it going forward. Now, the fifth build on this list and the final one that I would recommend is going to be Hollow Palm Monk. Now, Hollow Palm did receive a massive nerf to it, but that was something that was more affecting its ceiling rather than its campaign and early game progression. In fact, I would say that Hollow Palm got buffed earlier on because it got an increase in its base attack speed. So, in fact, not only is it very strong and has been very strong last league, it still continues to be strong. It is probably even stronger as a leveling character. What makes Hollow Palm so strong is that it doesn't require you to have a weapon, which is oftentimes one of the biggest pain points for any martial weapon character. If you're not able to keep up your weapon throughout the campaign, you're going to start running into a wall and unable to kill some of the tankier monsters fast enough before you either A, get killed yourself, or B, run out of mana. And Hollow Palm completely gets rid of that problem because Hollow Palm itself uses your gem as a weapon as opposed to having you have to find a weapon on the ground and try to make it good so you can actually clear the enemies in the game. It takes out that RNG factor completely and makes it so that you have a smooth start every single time you're playing the character. Of course, I would recommend using the Stormwave variant of Hollow Palm because the Ice Strike variant, at least during the campaign, is quite painful to play. Going into the end game, though, you are going to be swapping over to Ice Strike, which I think is still the best option for Hollow Palm. And eventually, if you'd like, you can even swap into Quarterstaff because Quarterstaff is likely going to be scaling a lot better into the end game as opposed to just using Hollow Palm completely by itself, especially with the nerfs that it received this patch. So overall, again, Hollow Palm still very strong for early game campaign, early end game, but then into the late end game, you're probably going to look to swap more towards the Quarterstaff. As for the build guide, I'm going to be recommending my variant of the Hollow Palm guide, and I'm going to be linking that in the description below. I haven't quite updated it this league yet, but I will definitely update it before the start of the league. Now, last league I had as a Chayula monk. Unfortunately, that was kind of not that great of an ascendancy. This league, I'm going to be swapping it over to Invoker, which is definitely the much more solid variant of the Hollow Palm character. And I'll be, once again, listing the information for how to level it up from the beginning, through the campaign, through endgame, all the gear you need to do, all the skills that you need to play, and all the passive tree changes that you need to make the character be a very solid character throughout the game. Of course, there are other builds as well, other build creators who have made build guides for this, so I'd highly recommend checking them out as well if you want to see other variants. But yes, Hollow Palm still is a very solid, very fun, very smooth leveling experience and will get you through the entirety of the game very, very easily. So yeah, that is going to be my list of top builds for the patch 0.4 Last of the Druids update. All of these build guides were chosen because I think that they will all be very strong, very easy, very low gear requirements, and get you through the end game very quickly. And also, I trust that everybody on this list is going to be updating their build guide for patch 0.4 if they have not updated them already, and they have always made good build guides in the past. So there it is, guys. Those are my top 5 picks. I'm sure there are other builds that are going to be just as good as these ones, but these are, in my opinion, the most solid ones that I've seen and have had a history of doing well as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Are you excited for the new patch? And what are you going to be playing going into the new league? As always, I am going to be streaming every single day on twitch.tv/MisoXshiro, and I will be streaming all day on the day of launch. So come hang out with me and let's get excited and have fun this league. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.